Hi friends. Welcome to your favorite YouTube channel. It's crazy world for you. Please continue supporting us by like, share, subscribe and comment. Even though the first World Cup held in 1975, the first, and only one-day international match was played 4 years prior to that on 5 January 1971 between Australia and England in Australia. If you are interested to know the history behind first one-day international, then please watch the video by clicking the link provided in the description section. The 1992 World Cup hosted by Australia and New Zealand was the first ever World Cup, where white balls were used and day and night games were played with colour clothings. Sunil Gavaskar scored an unbeaten 36 of 174 balls in a Prudential World Cup. It was the first World Cup match in the World Cup history and the first one-day international match for India. We are sure this record will never be broken. Clive Lloyd and Ricky Ponting are the only captains who have won the World Cup twice. Clive Lloyd won in 1975, against Australia in England on the 21st of June 1975, and in 1979, against England in England on the 23rd of June 1979. Ricky Ponting won in 2003, against India in South Africa on the 23rd of March 2003, and in 2007, against Sri Lanka in West Indies on the 28th of April 2007. Sri Lanka was the first team to win the World Cup, on the 17th of March 1996, being a part of the hosting teams. But the final match was held in Lahore, Pakistan. The best performance by a non-full member team came when Kenya made it to the semi-finals of the 2003 tournament. Kenya lost the semi-finals to India. In 2007, the final between the winning team Australia and runners-up Sri Lanka at Kensington Oval, Bridgetown Stadium in West Indies was decided by the Duckworth-Lewis method, making it the first and only final to be decided in Duckworth-Lewis method. In the 2 World Cups that India won, Kapil Dev and Virendra Sehwag scored exactly 175 runs in one of the league matches. In both matches India batted first. Well, we are not saying that another 175 needs to be scored again for India to win the World Cup. Kapil Dev scored 175 against Zimbabwe at Tunbridge Wells on 18th of June 1983. Virendra Sehwag scored 175 against Bangladesh at Dhaka on 19th of February 2011. The England cricket team is the only team in ODI history to lose a 60 overs, 50 overs and 20 overs ODI World Cup finals. In 1992 World Cup semi-final against England, at one stage South Africa required 22 runs from 13 balls with 4 wickets remaining. But the match was stopped for 12 minutes due to rain. So the equation changed to 22 runs required in 1 ball due to most productive overs method. South Africa lost their first chance of winning the semi-finals and enter finals. Chetan Sharma's India was the first bowler to get hat-trick in World Cup. He got the hat-trick against New Zealand in 1987 in a league match played in Nagpur. He got the wickets of Ken Rutherford, Ian Smith, and Ewan Chatfield. Another interesting part is all these 3 wickets were bowled. Surprisingly, in the same match Sunil Gavaskar, who was the highest number of centuries scorer in tests, scored his first, and only, one-day century. Both Chetan Sharma and Sunil Gavaskar were awarded the Men of the Match award. This was the first time in the history of World Cup cricket. After losing to Pakistan in the 23rd of May 1999 World Cup in a round-robin stage, Australia was unbeaten for 12 years in World Cup matches. After being unbeaten in 34 matches, Australia got defeated against Pakistan in the 19th of March 2011. These wins include 3 consecutive World Cup titles. In those 34 matches, Australia won 32 matches and 2 matches were either not played or didn't produce any results. Graham Gooch is the only player to have featured in the 3 finals and ended in the losing side. Gooch was part of the 1979 World Cup finals against West Indies, 1987 final against Australia, and 1992 finals against Pakistan. In 2015 World Cup, India played against Bangladesh in one of the quarter-finals. Rubal Hossain bowled a full toss to Indian batsman Rohit Sharma, who was caught at square leg. The umpire declared it a no ball because they thought the ball was too high, which means the batsman was not out. But the replays showed that the ball was waist height, and therefore it a legal delivery. Bangladesh was not happy with the umpire's decision, and the ICC's Bangladeshi president, Mustafa Kamal, later questioned the integrity of the umpire and threatened to resign in protest. Even the Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said India won the match because of umpiring errors. However, ICC Chief Executive Dave Richardson supported the umpire's decision, stating that the incident was a 50-50 call and the decision belongs to the umpire. The ICC chief also claimed the accusations made by the Bangladeshis were baseless and based on personal feelings of an individual. Lasith Malinga of Sri Lanka is the only bowler to take 2 hat-tricks in World Cup matches. First time he took the hat-trick against South Africa in 2007 and second time he took the hat-trick against Kenya in 2011. First hit wicket in ODI occurred in first World Cup, that too in the final. West Indies and Australia were the 2 teams to enter the first World Cup finals. In that match, Dennis Lillee bowled a bouncer to the West Indies opener Roy Fredericks. Fredericks played a hook shot towards the long leg which went for 6. But surprisingly, Fredericks lost balance and kicked the leg stump with his left leg. So Fredericks became the first player to be given out hit wicket in the history of ODI, which happened to be the first World Cup final. Javed Miandad of Pakistan and Sachin Tendulkar of India holds the record of participating in more World Cups. Javed Miandad played in 1975, 1979, 1983, 1987, 1992, 1996 World Cups. Sachin played in 1992, 1996, 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011 World Cups. In 1987 World Cup round-robin match playing against Pakistan in Lahore, West Indies scored 216 in 50 overs. Chasing 217 runs, Pakistan needed 2 runs to win off the last ball with 1 wicket remaining. Courtney Walsh was the bowler bowling the last over. On the last ball, the non-striker Salim Jaffar was backing up too much by leaving the crease. Walsh had an opportunity to run the non-striker out, but Walsh refused to run him out and asked the non-striker Salim Jaffar to come back into the crease. On the last ball, Abdul Qadir hit the winning runs and Pakistan won the match by 1 wicket. India and Sri Lanka entered into the semi-finals in 1996 World Cup, which was played in Eden Garden Stadium in Kolkata. Put into bat first by India, Sri Lanka scored 251 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their 50 overs. chasing 252 to win. At one stage India scored 98 runs for the loss of 1 wicket. When Sachin Tendulkar got out at the score of 98 runs, India slumped to 120 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in 34.1 overs. Looking at the score, the crowd became outrageous by throwing bottles and setting up fire in the stands. So the match officials were forced to abandon the match and declare Sri Lanka as the winners. In the 1999 World Cup hosted by England, South Africa played their first match against India. During the match, Captain Hansie Cronje and Alan Donald wore earpieces to get instructions from their coach Bob Woolmer. India's Sourav Ganguly noticed Cronje talking to himself and referred the case to the on-field umpires, who then asked both Cronje and Donald to remove the equipment after consulting with the match referee. However, the act was not considered to be against the laws of the game. Because of the racial policy in South Africa, they could not participate in the World Cup till 1992. For the first time, South Africa participated in the 5th edition World Cup in 1992, hosted by Australia and New Zealand. Sri Lanka was the first team to win the World Cup by chasing. In 1996, Sri Lanka won the World Cup by chasing against Australia. The match between India and Australia, played in Chennai in the 1987 World Cup, was the first match in World Cup history in which a team won the match by 1 run. Australia won the match by 1 run. Australia scored 270 runs for the loss of 6 wickets in 50 overs. In reply, India scored 269 runs all out in 49.5 overs. In that match, Kapil's generosity cost 2 runs. He awarded 2 runs to Australia. The interesting fact is, the second time when a team won by 1 run was Australia against India in 1992 World Cup. This time the match was played in Brisbane, Australia. In that match, India lost 1 over while chasing when their 50 overs was reduced to 49 overs due to rain and most productive overs method. Kepler Wessels was the first player to represent 2 countries in ODI history. He played for Australia from 1982 to 1985, before representing South Africa in 1991. Despite local outrage, Wessels was controversially named as South Africa's captain for the 1992 World Cup. In the match where Kapil Dev scored the historical 175 runs, at one stage India was struggling with 17 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. Kapil, along with other batsmen, took the score to 266 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in 60 overs. India is the first team to win the World Cup, being the host and the final being held in India. India defeated Sri Lanka in the final match played in Mumbai. Sachin Tendulkar of India is the highest run getter in the World Cup history. He scored 2,278 runs in 6 World Cups. Sachin also scored most number of centuries in World Cups. He scored 6 centuries. Tendulkar ended as the highest run getter in 1996 and 2003 World Cups. Kapil Dev India is the youngest captain to lift a World Cup, having been 24 when India stunned the world in 1983. Imran Khan from Pakistan retired from international cricket in 1987 when Pakistan lost the World Cup semi-finals to Australia. But he returned to international cricket after the request of the Pakistani President General Zia-ul-Haq. Surprisingly, he won the World Cup for his country in 1992, which was hosted by Australia and New Zealand. In 1983 World Cup, India beat West Indies to win the World Cup. But the interesting part is India already defeated West Indies once in the league. The match was played in Old Trafford, Manchester on 9 June 1983. Batting first, India scored 262 for the loss of 8 wickets in 60 overs, and West Indies managed to score 228 by losing all 10 wickets in 54.1 overs. So India won by 34 runs. Interestingly, it was the first loss for West Indies in the World Cup history. Glenn McGrath of Australia has claimed the highest number of wickets in the history of World Cups. He claimed 72 wickets in 39 matches. Till 2015 World Cup, South Africa never won a qualifier match, and Sri Lanka never won a match against South Africa in the World Cup. In 2015 World Cup, South Africa and Sri Lanka played against each other in quarter-final. South Africa broke the jinx of not winning the qualifier by winning the quarter-final. 1992 World Cup tournament was the first tournament to be played in round-robin league, with 9 teams participating and playing against all the 8 teams. Top 4 teams qualified for the semi-finals. India is the only country to win the 60-over, 50-over and 20-over World Cups. India won the 60-over World Cup beating West Indies in 1983 in England, 50-over World Cup by defeating Sri Lanka in 2011 in India, and 20-over World Cup beating Pakistan in 2007 in South Africa. Shahid Afridi of Pakistan has a unique record of taking 4 wickets or more wickets in a match in 4 World Cups. Australia is the only country to win 3 consecutive World Cups. Australia won its second World Cup in 1999, defeating Pakistan in England, followed by winning the 2003 World Cup by defeating India in South Africa, followed by 2007 World Cup defeating Sri Lanka in West Indies. This record also very difficult to be broken. Mohila Jayawardene of Sri Lanka is the only batsman to score a century in a World Cup semi-final and final till now. The former Sri Lankan captain scored 115 runs in 109 balls against New Zealand in 2007 World Cup semi-final hosted by West Indies, and hit an unbeaten 103 in 88 balls against India in the final of 2011 World Cup hosted by India. In 1975 Prudential World Cup, England set the target of 335 for India in 60 overs. That was the first match in the World Cup history and first match for India. Gavaskar opened for India and stood unbeaten till the end with 36 runs off 174 balls. India scored 132 runs after losing 3 wickets in 60 overs. In this fast-paced world, we are sure this record will never be broken. Frustrated by India's slow approach in their huge chase of 335, a spectator rushed onto the field and pleaded with the Indian batsman to show some aggression. Sunil Gavaskar later claimed that he thought the target was unachievable and decided to take some match practice. England is the only cricket team to lose 5 World Cup in 5 decades. In 1979 England lost against West Indies in the second World Cup, where England was the host. In 1987 England lost against Australia in the 4th World Cup hosted by India. In 1992 England lost against Pakistan in 5th World Cup hosted by Australia. In 2004 England lost against West Indies in Champions Trophy hosted by England. In 2013 England lost against India again in Champions Trophy hosted by England. In 2016 lost against West Indies in ICC T20 World Cup hosted by India. Even though South Africa was the sole designated host of 2003 World Cup, few matches were conducted in Zimbabwe and Kenya. The 1996 World Cup champions Sri Lanka had received 2 walkovers in the group stage, against Australia and the West Indies. Both the teams refused to play in Sri Lanka due to security concerns. Zimbabwe shocked the cricketing world when they beat a strong Australian side by 13 runs in their debut match in the World Cup in 1983 hosted in Trent Bridge, Nottingham. In 1987, for the first time a Man of the Match award was shared between 2 players. Chetan Sharma and Sunil Gavaskar from India shared the Man of the Match against New Zealand. Chetan Sharma got the award for this hat-trick and Gavaskar got for his first one-day international century. The first 3 World Cup matches in 1975, 1979, 1983 were 60 overs matches. From 1987 World Cup onwards, the matches became 50 overs matches. In the inaugural match of 1987 World Cup, India played against Australia in Chennai, India. Indian skipper Kapil Dev won the toss and elected to bowl first. At one stage of the match, Australian batsman Dean Jones smashed Indian spinner Maninder Singh's delivery over mid-off. As there were not much technology available during the days, the umpires were not sure if the ball bounced before the boundary line or after the boundary line. Ravi Shastri was the near fielder to the ball and he signalled 4. So the umpires signalled 4 runs. But Dean Jones told the umpires that he is of the opinion that it is 6. The umpires decided to discuss on this in the break time. During the break time the umpires approached Kapil Dev with Dean Jones' opinion. Kapil Dev accepted the appeal and 6 was awarded to Australia. But the surprising part was, India lost the match by 1 run. In 2015 World Cup during the Pool B match between Ireland and Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe batsman Sean Williams was caught by Ireland's John Mooney in a close run chase. Mooney was so close to the boundary that even 8 different television replays were not able to decide whether the foot touched the boundary rope or not. Meanwhile Williams had walked out away and umpires singled the batsman as out. 2019 World Cup tournament was the second tournament to be played in round-robin league with 10 teams participating and playing against all the 9 teams. Top 4 teams qualified for the semi-finals. In the semi-finals against Sri Lanka in 2003 World Cup, Adam Gilchrist of Australia walked out even though the umpire did not declare him out. In 2011 World Cup finals, the match referee tossed the coin and it was said that Sri Lankan captain Sangakkara called head, which no one could hear. Heads was the results, but as no one heard what Sangakkara called, the coin was tossed again. This time also Sangakkara called head and the results was head again. Just imagine what could have happened if Indian captain MS Dhoni agreed for the second time toss. Hope you learned something from our video. Thank you for watching.